going on, guys? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chad Sports. Coming up on today's show, an NFL insider suggested that the Minnesota Vikings could be trading Sam Darnold midway through the year before the trade deadline. Super interesting report that I want to dive into. Then the second half of today's show, Camryn Bynum was drinking some purple Kool-Aid on an interview with NFL Network yesterday where he predicted, or he set the expectation that the Vikings could be a Super Bowl team this upcoming year. But before we dive into today's program, if you guys could hit that subscribe button to help us catch our Saints Now channel and subscribers. We're just under 2,000 subs away from catching them. That would be pretty sweet if we could catch them before the season starts. So hit that subscribe button. And hey, if I had to pick any team that I despise the most besides the teams in the NFC North, I'd probably pick that team down there in New Orleans. So hit that subscribe button if you guys want more around your Minnesota Vikings. But this report was coming in from Connor Orr as he was just doing some season-long projections for every NFL team. And, you know, he threw out the idea that Sam Darnold could get traded. So let's talk about it. He said the 2018 number 3 pick of the Jets will have a short runway as a Minnesota Vikings starter before he gets traded before the November 5th deadline to a contender that has an injured starter, paving the way for J.J. McCarthy era to begin in Minnesota. And if I'm being honest, guys, I haven't really thought about this possibility. Like, when I was just thinking about the Vikings season, it has really never came to, my thoughts that Sam Darnold could be moved before the trade deadline November 5th. And it makes a lot of sense. Like, if he gets off to a hot start and, there's a team that has an injured, quarterback at the time and, they want a good option as a starter, maybe they toss the Vikings, a third or fourth round pick for Sam Darnold, then there's no doubt there will be QB-needy teams. Like, there are always injuries in the NFL. There are always injuries to the quarterback position. So a team will have a need for Sam Darnold. And, what you may be saying to yourself would be like, oh, why would a contender think Sam Darnold could potentially be, the reason they get over the top? Well, I think Sam Darnold is going to have a career year with the Vikings. So, like, whatever you think his value is right now, honestly, I think you should double it if you're thinking about what it would be at this upcoming NFL trade deadline. But honestly, guys, I've never even thought of the idea of trading Sam Darnold as it stands right now, but it does make a whole lot of sense. And, I think that could be a possible, season outcome for the Vikings is, Sam Darnold plays really good in the first half of the year. A team calls you, say, hey, we'll give you a second-round pick for him. Vikings move off Sammy D, and then it's the J.J. McCarthy era, sliding in here to Minnesota. But why I think Sam Darnold will have a career year is, I think this Vikings offense is going to be humming this season. And, you got a ton of dogs on the outside that you guys obviously know about. But the fact that they were able to put up this type of production with the likes of Nick Mullins, Jaron Hall, Josh Dobbs playing quarterback for majority of the season, and they were still 10th in yards per game, 10th in yards per play. And on top of that, the Vikings had some of the worst turnover luck in the entire NFL, averaging 2 turnovers game, which actually ranked 31st in the entire league. So, I'm looking at all this, and I'm thinking with the healthy Sam Darnold, for at least 8 games, I think these will all be, around top 15 in the entire league. And plus, Sam Darnold's going to be playing with a ton of great offensive players around him. We know what Justin Jefferson is. Called him, the best non-quarterback in the league. And I've actually, started to think he is the most underrated player in the league. And I know it may sound ludicrous to some people. How could the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL be underrated? I just think people undervalue his impact just because of his, position that he plays. People don't think the receiver position can impact the game the way he does. But, I think number 18 is going to have a great year and really put this team on his back. And then you got to get the likes of Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, just guys that will help you, just get better on the margins and just, eat up extra yards here and there. And then you got TJ Hawkinson at the tight end spot. And even though he's not supposed to be there until at least Thanksgiving, but you got Robert Tonyan, you got Josh Oliver, the tight end position will be just fine. And then even threw Christian Darrisaw up there. You got Darrisaw, you got O'Neal, you got the bookend tackles, you got even the likes of Dalton Reisner, Garrett Bradbury in the interior. Like, the Vikings have overall one of the best 11-man offenses and 11-man personnel units in the NFL. And also, you got to think about the Kevin O'Connell effect here. Like, we saw Nick Mullins and Josh Dobbs have great games last season where they looked like top quarterbacks in the league, and I don't think that's crazy to say. Like, you just think about that first half. Go watch it. First half versus the Saints, Josh Dobbs was fantastic. He was the best player out there on the football field. So I expect Sam Darnold to be significantly better than that. Expect the Vikings offense to be significantly better than what it was last season. And also, you think about last year, Justin Jefferson missed time. Christian Darrisaw missed time. Like, the Vikings were one of the most injury-riddled teams in the entire National Football League. And I think the Vikings could be in the trade market to accumulate, future draft capital at the trade deadline. The 2025 picks as it stands right now, it's pretty empty. You don't have a second, third, or fourth round pick. No sixth, no seventh. As it stands right now, the Vikings only have a first rounder and 2 fifth rounders. So I could easily see the Vikings, whether it's them, trading that first round pick for 2 seconds or whatever it may be. But if Sam Darnold and a team's calling you saying, hey, we'll give you a second and a third, and maybe the Vikings are 500 and, just not, truly feeling too confident about, Darnold, or they just want to start the McCarthy era, I could see this trade easily going down. And, my final thoughts on this is I think the only way the Vikings, do trade Sam Darnold is if he is playing good and the Vikings are losing. Like, I'll just say he is increasing his value. He's, throwing for 3 touchdowns, a game or whatever, his stats end up being. But he's just playing good football. And let's just say the Vikings lost a couple of really close games. They got beat at the buzzer a couple times. Let's just say they're 2-6 or whatever it may be. I could easily see, the Vikings moving off them. And, their schedule's brutal. Like, especially the first 8 games. You're opening up your season at MetLife Stadium against the Giants. Even though the Giants aren't a good football team, still going on the road week 1. That would be challenging. Then the next 3 games, the Niners and Texans at home. Those are not going to be easy wins. The Packers on the road. The Vikings will be dogs in all 3 of those games. And then you go to London versus the New York Jets in week 5. That's going to be a tough game. And then the Lions and the Rams following the bye. Like, it is not out of the realm of possibility that the Vikings could be playing good football and Sam Darnold could be playing some good ball, and they are 2-6 after, or 2-7, or 2-5, excuse me, after week 8. So crazy thought, but it's definitely a possibility that could be out there for Minnesota. But you guys let me know, will the Vikings trade Sam Darnold? Could you see it happen? Predict it for me down below in the comment section. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Make this a pinned comment on today's show. So if YouTube throws an ad your way, sit back, let it play, and answer today's pinned comment. Coming up next on the program, I do want to talk about Cam Bynum and, him necessarily predicting, the Super Bowl for the Minnesota Vikings, or at least that's the expectation. I'll give you guys those thoughts here in a second. But first, if you guys want to get a J.J. McCarthy jersey, this is the best way to do so. Hit that link, chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. Get your number 9 jerseys today. I already got one that actually just came in last week. It is awesome. I got the all white. So if you guys want to get one as well, click this link, chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. I'll put that link in the comments and description for you all. But this is what Cam Bynum said on the NFL Network, talking about the Vikings season. He says, I expect a Super Bowl. Everybody says that, and everybody should say that. But you look at the guys on the team. You look at the locker room, all the experience we have. Look how much depth we have, especially on defense. So many guys. It's almost weird looking around. You're like, okay, how are we all going to be on the field? There's just so many ballers. And I completely agree with Cam, especially on the defensive side of the football. And that's why I'm pretty confident in saying I think the Vikings defense will be top 10 this year in every statistical category. You take it where it was from Ed Donatell 2 years ago to already the jump we had last season where they were playing top 5 football, through a stretch of last year. Obviously, the numbers won't end up showing at the end of it after, they did end up falling off during the last month of the season. But you just look at how many elite players you have here. I mean, these are 10 guys. 10 guys who are all, at least Bs at their position. But Grenard, Van Ginkel, Cashman, you got Metellus and Bynum at safety, Byron Murphy in the cornerback room. You got Ivan Pace also with the linebackers. Harrison Smith still going to throw him in here. Then Harrison Phillips on the D-line. Then you even got rookie Dallas Turner. Like, these are 10 guys who are all really, really good football players. You combine that with the mind of Brian Flores, it's going to do big things here in Minnesota this upcoming year. But Cam Bynum also talked about the offense, saying this. He says, you look at the offense. There's a baller at every position when you look across the whole board. That's why I'm confident when I say I expect us to be a Super Bowl team. But really, our preparation has to tell it all. You say that every year. Every team says that every year. But we have to put all these names and everything. We have to make it real. And, Cam Bynum, I just got to say this. Mr. Bynum, you know your stuff. You know what you're talking about is, I've been kind of pushing this hype train around the Minnesota Vikings for a while, as I think they're the most underrated football team in the entire NFL. And, overall, I just love this mindset from Bynum. Like, whether you want to have, say this is just him being ignorant or whatever it may be, I just like the confidence. Because also this, yes, he is putting the standards really high. He is talking Super Bowl, but that's how I think it should be. And that's kind of what he said. He said every team should be thinking like that. Every player should be thinking like that. But when you do have that high standard and you hold yourself accountable to that, it's just going to lead to better results. So overall, Cam Bynum, I totally agree with you. I absolutely love this mindset that you have, and heading into the season, and I really am hoping the rest of the 53 people on this roster are with you on this, that the Super Bowl should be the expectation. There is enough talent on this roster for the Vikings to make a deep playoff run. A lot of that's going to have to come down to the quarterback position. But you guys let me know. We'll round today's show out with this. Predict the Vikings record for me in 2024. My season-long prediction is the Vikings go 10-7. Been staying in the camp for a while, but hey, you guys let me know your thoughts on the Vikings record in the comments section. And always, guys, if you guys want to give me a follow on Twitter for more Vikings content, that's the handle, @PatSieps. Just want to say thank you guys so much for watching today's show. See y'all next time. As always, Skol Vikes.